Dig a hole in the meadow. Dig a hole in the cold, cold ground. Dig a hole deep down in the meadow. Gonna bury my darling Corey down.
The bodies of two missing women that were found in the snow near Breckenridge, Colorado, that had been murdered in 1982 would not be solved until nearly 40 years later. There would be several suspects through the years. So, who really murdered Annette Schnee and Bobby Joe Oberholtzer? Come join me, Holly, in the Murder She Shed, the place we discuss the dead, right from my she shed. Although, as you can see, I am camping currently in the Rocky Mountains. So, for this true crime story, I am not in my she shed. So, since I have no internet currently and no way of Googling names, my pronunciations may be slightly off. So, just bear with me. Also, I decided to do a Colorado case since I'm in Colorado. One snowy cold day on January 6, 1982, Annette had woke up not feeling well that day. So, she went to the doctor and afterwards entered a pharmacy to fill a script. In order to get home, she had to hitchhike and needed to hurry because she needed to be at the bar to bartend that night in Breckenridge. Annette, a 21-year-old beauty, had graduated from an Omaha-based modeling school and wanted to become a flight attendant. But right now, she had moved to Breckenridge just to ski and have some fun. She supported herself by working as a maid at a hotel and at night as a bartender in Breckenridge. This particular night, she never showed up to work her bar job, and the next time she would be seen would be on July 3rd, 1982. On that day, 11-year-old boy would be walking along the creek near Alma, Colorado, looking for a good place to fish. When he looked behind some bushes in the creek, laying face down in the water was Annette's body. An autopsy revealed that she had been shot once in the back. It looked like she had dressed in a hurry after being assaulted, and her killer had told her to run. So she got out of the vehicle on a cold night and began to run for her life. But the killer had aimed and shot her in the back, and so she fell face down in the creek, where she would be found 6 months later, after the heavy snow had thawed out. The road she was found on was not plowed in the winter and would have been difficult to drive down. The killer could have possibly known the area well, possibly a local, they thought. On the very same night Annette was murdered, another woman was murdered. Her name was Bobby Joe, and she had been married for 4 years to a man named Jeff Oberholtzer. Bobby Joe and her husband moved from Wisconsin to Colorado several years earlier, and she now worked as a secretary in a realtor's office. On the way to work in Breckenridge, she caught a ride with friends since she lived in Alma, but often on the way home she would hitchhike. So glad not many women hitchhike anymore. So dangerous. They only had one old truck, and Jeff used it for his appliance business. Bobby Joe had just turned 29 and was a beautiful, blonde, blue-eyed woman. What I like best about her is she apparently had a German Shepherd that she loved. That makes her a great woman in my eyes. You know how I am about my German Shepherd. Jeff was outside shoveling snow when he heard the phone ring. So he raced inside to answer it, and it was Bobby Joe. She sounded excited, telling him she just got a pay raise and was going to a bar with friends to celebrate before coming home. She said some of those friends would give her a ride home. But after being at the bar for a bit, she was tired and told her friends she was just going to leave early and hitch a ride. Meanwhile, Jeff's friend came over to watch a bit of TV with him. After his friend left around 8, Jeff drifted off to sleep around midnight. At 2:45, he woke up and realized his wife was still not home. He became worried. He knew she would call normally if she was this late. Jeff drove for a while to see if he could find her, and then near 4 a.m. he ended up calling authorities. The next day, a farmer that lived near Alma called and said he had found a driver's license belonging to Bobby Joe in his yard. That was not a good sign, and Jeff knew it. He called his brother and friends to help him search near where the license was found. The searchers found her backpack about 4 miles away from where the license had been found, and next to the backpack was a bloody mitten and bloody tissues. With tears in his eyes, Jeff now knew that his wife was most likely dead. When Jeff reported these items to authority, they said, "Sit tight, she'll probably turn up." What the heck, if they had a wife that had bloody mittens found, they would not tell their cop friends to sit tight. No. They would not. Why would they tell him that? That's horrible. So, Jeff's friends and family kept searching. 2 of his friends got on skis and skied down Hoosier Pass parallel the highway. In the distance, they seen something just beyond the tree line. It was Bobby Joe, her dead blue eyes open and staring at the sky, her face frozen in a look of despair that would forever haunt those who found her. On one of her wrists was a pair of zip ties. Authorities said it looked as if she had escaped and started running towards the tree line. While running, she was shot twice, but still continued to run. The killer drove away, knowing she would eventually die. After he pulled away in his vehicle, Bobby Joe attempted to climb back up the steep, snowy embankment to the road, thinking a vehicle would pass that she could flag down. She fell and then began crawling up the embankment, leaving a trail of blood behind her in the snow. Her body movement growing sluggish from blood loss. She turned onto her back and passed away, staring up at the stars. Her body then slid back down the snowy embankment. After Annette's body had been found, there was an odd connection that would tie Jeff to both of the women's murders. Jeff's business card was found in Annette's purse. He did admit a few months earlier of giving her a ride when he had seen her hitchhiking, and during that ride, he had given her the business card. It was odd that on that same night, Annette had been murdered. His wife was murdered too, and he had a connection to both women. He became a suspect, although he passed 2 lie detector tests. There was another thing that was odd. Both women were wearing orange booties that did not belong to them. This connected the murders together. Another man became suspect. His name was Thomas Edward Luther, after his brutal sexual assault of Mary Brown near Breckenridge. Mary Brown was excited about her ski vacation, but when she got off the bus, her friends were not there to pick her up. They told her they would be there to pick her up and give her a ride to Breckenridge. She dug through her bag for their phone number, but she guessed she had lost it. Here she was, stranded in the freezing weather at a bus stop, when a man pulled up and told her he was an off-duty taxi cab driver and he would be glad to drive her where she needed to go. She was leery, but he looked and acted friendly and was kind of handsome, so she got in his vehicle. What Mary didn't know is Tom usually based his victims off of their looks. If they looked like his physically abusive mother, he would pick them up so he could assault and sometimes kill them. Mary would suffer one of the most vicious assaults of the women that he had let live. After taking Mary to a desolate area, Tom said, "I don't think we're going to find your friends, but this is a good place as any to take your clothes off." When Mary tried to escape, he punched her in the face, grabbed her hair, and slammed her head into the car door. She finally complied and took her clothes off. She's too scared not to. Tom then shoved his hand inside her. After Tom wasn't able to perform, he grabbed a claw hammer from under his seat and began raping her in every way possible with the hammer. Every time she grabbed his hand because he hurt, he would punch her in the face. Mary felt like her eye had popped out of the socket. Blood was spraying all over the dashboard, windows, and seats. He began to choke her until she heard her neck bones crunching. Mary took her fingernails and scraped them across his face. He then began beating her again until she slumped against the car door. Tom told her to put on her clothes, and when she asked if she could get out, he said no, that he had some place to take her. She feared it was most likely the place she would die. He drove only a few feet and started muttering to himself. She repeated, "Can I go?" He said, "Yes, and take all your luggage." She grabbed her stuff and ran as fast as her legs could maneuver through hip-deep snow. She was freezing but determined to live when suddenly she seen a house in the distance. As she staggered toward the house, she left a blood trail behind her. The door wasn't locked, so she entered and yelled, "Help me," because she felt as if she might pass out any minute. She walked a few steps in the living room and fell to the floor. Next thing she remembered is when emergency personnel arrived, and then she just started crying hysterically and saying, "He used to hammer, I hurt so bad." When the doctor arrived at the hospital, he would describe her injuries as if she had been in a head-on car collision. Mary's head was swollen to the size of a basketball. She was bleeding out of her ears. The C7 vertebrae in her neck was broken, but the front and back of her private area was severely torn. Mary had described Tom's truck to authorities, and as they drove looking for the vehicle, an officer spotted a truck parked in front of a trailer home with a perfect bloody handprint on the back window. The officer called for backup and approached the truck. The seat looked as if someone had poured a can of red paint on it. Red smears and drops of blood were all over the vehicle. One officer remarked, "You mean the girl survived this?" Tom's girlfriend appeared at the door and said that he was still in the bedroom. Apparently, he had came home and been in the mood. Tom came out with long bloody scratches across his face. He was immediately put in handcuffs. He denied killing Annette or Bobby Joe, although authorities suspected him of the killings. But the two girls looked nothing like his mother, both being blondes and his mother having dark hair. Tom was released 9 years later in time to attack and kill a woman named Cher Elder. He bragged in prison that he had killed Annette and Bobby Joe, but denied it when questioned by authorities. He stated he would never use a gun. He only used hammers and knives on women. But after they found Cher Elder's body, she had been shot and Essie actually assaulted. And after Tom had shot her, he cut off her ring finger to steal her ring and cut off her lips. Was Tom the killer of Annette and Bobby Joe, or was Bobby Joe's husband? After years of suspicion by authorities that these women were murdered by one of these two men, in 2021, the real murder was found, and he was never suspected to be the killer. Bobby Joe's mitten had blood on it, and it was her blood type, so for the longest time, they thought it was her blood. But when it was tested, it belonged to a male. The blood was tested against Tom Luther's and Bobby Joe's husband, Jeff. Neither one of them matched. So authorities were just shocked because they really thought it was one of those two people. But on the night of the murders, a man named Alan Lee Phillips, who was a miner and a mechanic who was familiar with the area, was rescued on Guanella Pass near where both women were murdered. The snow was extremely deep on the night he had got his truck stuck in the snow. The temperature was 20 degrees below zero. An airliner happened to pass by and Phillips flashed an SOS with his headlights. David Montoya, a fire chief, responded to the call. Montoya picked Phillips up that night and noticed he had blood on his jacket and a bruise on his face and was also intoxicated. Phillips stated, "Oh God, I'm saved," to Montoya. He also told Montoya that he had bumped his head on the truck after getting slammed with snow, and that is what had caused the bruise and the bleeding. Phillips also said he was driving home from a friend's house when he had gotten stuck. In 2021, Alan Lee Phillips' DNA matched. After searching through a genealogy database, they were able to find DNA that would eventually lead them to Phillips. After authorities followed him to a Sonic drive-in, and they threw away the bag that contained his DNA. They finally had a match after 40 years, finally. And they would later find out that in 1973, Phillips had picked up another female hitchhiker before the murders of Annette and Bobby Joe. He took her to a cabin just out of Breckenridge and beat her head with a rock. The woman screamed for him to stop and that she had a baby girl, so he broke into the cabin and cleaned the blood off of the woman and dropped her off at Fairway, where he was arrested after she went to police. Just makes you wonder if he murdered anyone else. At the age of 70 years old, Phillips was arrested near his home in Dumont, Colorado. While he's driven to the jail, they passed by the places that both women had been murdered, and he told authorities he was going to be sick. gagged but never threw up. Authorities believed he had been impacted by the return to those places. It is thought that the two women were zip-tied together. Bobby Joe fought and was able to break free, knocking one orange booty out of the vehicle when exiting. And then she ran. He shot her and took Annette 5 miles down the road before she was set free, and he would then shoot her. The trial just ended on September 15, 2022, where he was found guilty of both women's murders, and he could be facing the possibility of a life sentence. Finally, after 40 years, the families of 2 victims finally get answers in some form of justice anyway. Even though he was free for years and years, it just doesn't seem right. All right, guys, hopefully next time I do a video, I'll actually get to be back in my murder she shed with all my pups. I miss them so much. I love y'all, and I'll leave y'all with a few bloopers. The bloopers are from a big and different videos. I've recorded this a big in time, so it may look a little different. This has just been a trial and testament out here, I'm telling you, to get anything done. But, you know, I enjoy it, and I've had plenty of time to do it. Well, I'll let y'all go, and I love y'all, and I hope y'all have a great rest of the week. Bye. I love y'all. I'm freezing my ass off. Literally. Did I say I'm freezing my ass off for us? Cut it off. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to cuss. This bird, no, shut up. He got in a tree above me, was talking more than I was, so it was driving me nuts. Like, you are not the person to be telling this story. Shut up. I didn't tell a story. It wasn't the same story I was telling. Finally, he flew away. Also, this shadow on my face. The sun came out and it's so freaking bright, it was shady. I see a thing right now. Oh, check out behind me. It's my shower. Oh, that's my shower. My husband bought this shower. I guess this propane heats the water. We're getting water out of the creek. Actually, it makes your hair shiny, but let it warm up enough. Propane don't kick your butt off out here. The bodies of 2 missing women that were found in the snow from blood loss. Bobby Joe's mitten had blood on it. I'm talking, I don't know why I'm talking in a different language. And I don't even, it must be alien language. Stuck out here in the boonies for a while. Feel like I'm turning into an animal. I'm talking to trees. I mean, I'm a farm girl. I'm used to the quiet, but geez, I'm way out here. I mean, at least I can go to town when I want to. Here, not so much. I'll live, though. Hopefully, I'll make it out of this place. Simply known the area well. Ooh, nice. I seriously recorded that whole thing and didn't push play. God dang it. Pissing me off. When he looked behind some bushes in the creek, she sounded exciting. She sounded exciting. This is a good place as any to take your clothes off. And slammed her. Stop.
Wake up, darling glory. What makes you seem so sad? That revenue man, he's a-comin'.